When you talk about a city that has almost 600,000 residents, and you go from 180 polling stations down to 5 in-person polling stations, that is a very pronounced example of what voter suppression looks like, just making it physically challenging for people to vote. You know, Boys and Girls Clubs are in neighborhoods that are typically underrepresented, and so having a trusted place is really important. And so we fight really hard to have the right to be a voting polling station. And it was really a lot of pressure on the commission to say we are in locations where people of color are represented and they need places to go to vote.
You want to do everything to make it easier. If there's barriers put in place, chances are you won't participate in something. So if there's a familiar face where you can ask questions, if there's a familiar place, turning the clubs into polling sites is beneficial to the community because they're familiar with the Boys and Girls Club. And it takes a village, it takes a community. So providing educational programming, recreational programming, kids can come get a meal or two, and then gaining access to mentors and positive role models that give them ultimately what they need to be successful. So it's definitely relationships. They come because of the people. The parents send their kids because of the people. People come here to vote because of the people.
We are in a very unique position to inspire the next generation of young people to vote. Young people live through times in our history where they've seen elections hijacked, and so they're a bit disillusioned. And so we've got to help them understand quickly why it's important for them to vote. They need to see their parents voting. They need to think of voting as almost a rite of passage. And particularly for kids of color, it's probably the most underutilized tool that we have in our community, and it's the tool that we fought the hardest to get. And so we want to make it just super easy for kids, young people, their parents to come and vote. We would love to have as many polling stations available in the community as the Milwaukee Elections Commission would allow.
There's been challenges with polls changing. Having locations stripped away, you create barriers. So being a regular polling place is very important. Fortunately, we have vehicles that allow us to get from A to B if something were to change like that, but in communities like this, that's always not the case. So when you have those changes, you create barriers for folks that need the resources most.
When you talk about why certain neighborhoods thrive and why others don't, it's really a question of economics and investment. But to make a change in that area, you have to have people elected to office that understand what's needed, and they have to prioritize those changes. We all vote with our feet. We decide to do something or not do something, and then there's an outcome. There's not enough protesting and marching and tweeting in the world to change a law if there aren't lawmakers who are willing to step in front of that and say, I'm going to push that forward. And so representation really matters. If we want to have our voices heard, if we want to have our values understood and represented by government, we have to vote for people that represent our values and understand our points of view. It's a process that any organization could undertake. First is working with your local municipality and elections commission. It's a long and lengthy process, so I would say for anyone who's listening and you have a desire to become a polling station, start that process soon. Any organization that's serving the community, opening your doors for voting seems to be the most core issue to be an American. So for us, it was a no-brainer.